Hello! With Bloodthirsty Puppets, this is Monday night's Get Nuked. I am thirsty. This is my crew over there. Huzzah. If you're new in chat, you should really know we have some special rules. Don't be at all about someone's race. Don't be at all about someone's gender. Don't be at all. Just don't. Don't do it. Oh, we're not getting a screwdriver comment this time.
Go on, or a screwdriver.
There we are. Or a rivet gun. Just don't do it. We don't appreciate it, and you'll ruin everyone else's fun. So yes, tonight we should be playing Run Under Ooze Town, which, hooray, I remembered to change back on the overlay. We shall be returning to our wonderful crew as they enjoy the slummy delights of Ooze Town. So, before we get stuck in any further, who are you people? What are you doing here?
Going straight down?
Yeah.
Okay. I am Spanners, and I am playing Timmy. Timmy has gone shopping quite a lot, has obtained a hat, has obtained a severed head, and is currently wearing an ear as a pocket handkerchief, and obtained last time some rather dubious needle and thread by threatening small children.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the things that escape my notes. So, yes, is there anything else we should know about Timmy?
Timmy has an affiliation with the Salties, so spent time on the ship, and last time she had the ship pointed out to her, but it was derelict, but she doesn't know why, and her crew are missing.
Ah, interesting. So, we've got a derelict ship, missing crew. Ooh, what's going on with that? It's almost like I wrote a plot hook, but actually like I forgot and had a child mention it later. So yes, Lilth, what's going on with you? Who are you? What are you playing?
I am Lilth and I'm playing Anita, who is sort of a medic. Sort of, maybe, kinda. She's kind of tagged along with the others and followed around and managed to get us some breakfast for not much. Cooked a nice big fish. That's about all she's done so far. Went to a bar and got not much information.
I don't know. I rewatched that stream and I actually sat there and went, shit, I shouldn't have mentioned that. So, you know, maybe you know more than you think you do, or maybe you've just forgotten it because it's been 2 weeks.
Might be that.
Maybe. Right, Ivor, our stolid stalwart, who's always here through rain, sleet, and snow. Apparently last week. So yes, who are you? Who are you playing? What's your motivation? What have you been doing recently? Blah blah blah. Whatever.
I'm Ivor, and I'll be playing Zeke tonight. On the never-ending quest to find her, but my poor wayward Scuzzle, who's been kidnapped by bandits, and last time Zeke has acquired some new armor and potentially sent a small child off to their death in the nebulous north. And or to a slave camp. Well, I'm sure there'll be no repercussions for that.
If you're having a bit of a struggle, you also got threatened with some rather elaborate death by the child's mother, Erica, the leather worker.
I did. I may become armor at some point.
Yeah, I believe the exact nature of her threat was that she would skin you and wear you to your own funeral.
I do remember that.
Yeah, so, it's a pleasant image, At least
More
people...
recently, I'm remembered for running from Rajah's.
Yes.
Belt.
Yes. You're remembered for... In your recent flashback, yes, you did spend almost an entire night fleeing from weather and giant badgers, so, you're not entirely without sense, clearly. And then you went to the pub, as all good Brits do after enduring bad weather and and dangerous wildlife. You went and got tanked. So yeah, but yes, more recently in the actual timeline, you went and talked to a child, ate some sausage, bought yourself a nice new piece of leather, or a nice leather vest that doesn't quite do up at the sides. And you're a little too tall for, because. I seem to remember us saying that Zeke wasn't particularly large. He was quite tall, though, wasn't he?
No,
I can't remember which way around it was.
5'8"
Yeah, but he was
pretty lanky.
yeah.
He's not a big guy, so this must have been built for a dwarf.
Yeah, either that or it was built for a perfectly average person, and you're just not. Maybe you're an odd shape. Who knows? I could see Zeke as a pot-bellied man. But hey, let's go away from questioning the body shapes of fictional characters. It has occurred to me actually that at no point so far have we defined what our characters look like. Which, when I sat down on Hero Forge one night to build little miniatures so I could get it in my head, I went, I didn't actually ever ask that. But anyway, we shall dive into the action without any further ado. I seem to recall that our ladies have just gained some information about Bill, or Billy, Big Bill, the local loan shark, and occasional user of erotic entertainments. You've heard from Jim how he's noted for travelling around the town, occasionally stopping out at brothels that owe protection money or just sort of general loans, and generally stops off at the one that owes him the most money. He's apparently not very picky about men or women, but he likes to think he's getting the most attractive person in the place, and he has a history of damaging them in a way that Jim didn't really elucidate what he meant by that. But yes, I think there was a history of damages mentioned. So, I think that was sort of where we left things. You had I think Anita had just exited the pub, met back up with Timmy, and you'd gone. She basically said, "Where the fuck is Zeke?" Because he wandered off in the town.
Guess we went off to go and find him, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I think the first task of our merry group, which splits up an awful lot. We don't seem to have a great sense of team spirit at the moment. Maybe I need to throw more deadly encounters your way to bind you together as a group. But anyway, yes, the camera rolls on in. In over a river valley, which sort of scrubby hills with patchy grass, and down over a hillside, over some old ruined buildings and rubble, down towards a river, a filthy, grey-brown river that. I would love to say it meandered, but it doesn't. It makes a pretty straight shot down towards the sea. It carries all the runoff from the breweries up at Lewis, and whatever else they happen to dump in there. It heads out through the countryside down to Ooze town, the only stable harbour in the area. Now, Ooze town almost exclusively occupies the east bank. Or the West Bank, actually. Oh, I'm coming in for it from the north. So yeah, it almost exclusively occupies the West Bank. The East Bank having mostly collapsed. It's very boggy on that side. And almost the first thing you come to in the town, as you approach from this side, is what once upon a time was known as Denton Island. And there was at one point, there was a building that was a carpet store. And walking out of the building that sort of supplanted this, are is Anita, who is meeting up with Timmy between what used to be called Fluders carpets and a warehouse that Timmy was hiding.
Okay, so I guess Timmy is still hiding down her alleyway. Does she notice anyone approaching her?
For the most part, when you see a rather shifty-looking person standing down an alleyway across the road from a pub, and they don't appear to be notably armed, you just leave them alone. It's the middle of the day, as I seem to recall. So it might be getting on towards sort of mid-afternoon by this point. I mean, who knows how long Anita spent in the pub talking to Jim, really. I get the impression that we probably got the truncated version of that conversation. So it might be pulling in at towards 2 o'clock in the afternoon now. So most of the people who are heading towards the pub are either trying to make sure their boss doesn't notice, or their wife doesn't notice, or their husband doesn't notice, or their kids don't see them. So, they're sloping off to the pub for a quick one in the middle of the day. So, no one's really looking out for you.
Okay. In which case, what I will do then is Timmy will continue hiding behind the bins where she has been trying to spy on people, and just be like, "Psst, over here.
Being that Timmy has significant hearing loss, is her impression of a subtle,
Very loud.
Hiss?
Yeah, really, really very loud.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I take it. How well hidden are you? Have you taken honest efforts to hide in this alleyway?
Yes.
Okay, give me a sneak.
Oh, really? Don't fancy an intimidate?
No.
Yeah, she really isn't very sneaky because she rolled 2. Well, she rolled 1 plus her sneak.
Okay, yeah, you're like sitting next to something that you could probably have hidden behind. But you're sitting with your back to it. It's probably like an old oil drum or something that someone at some point has used for like an oil can fire. It's out and it's just full of burnt wood and bits of rubbish. But you're just sitting next to it with your back against it. If we were going to be generous, we would call it social stealth. People don't tend to interrogate the hobo in the alleyway. They don't notice the dirty looking lady in the alleyway next to the oil can. However, you are sitting there loudly mumbling to yourself and taking notes, and the moment you see Anita coming out, you sort of walk past the alleyway around a small group of women who are talking loudly about how much they fancy a beer in the middle of the day. You issue forth your psst over here to everyone who can hear. A few of the women on the side of the road sort of give you a side eye. Being that you are proficient, more than proficient, almost entirely, dependent on lip reading, you get the word weirdo. Hobo. And a few of them are just like, don't mind that one. They're weird. They're all weird. And they will just pile on into the bleed and continue their loud talking about how much they want beer. In fact, the talking is in fact so loud that Timmy is actually picking up on it on the other side of the road. This is sufficiently clear and concise and loud that even Timmy with 30% hearing is clearly picking up on every word. And you're like, they might even be chanting in the manner of like a hen do. But, So yes, Timmy has now just basically bellowed from an alleyway at you.
Considering
It probably takes you a few minutes to realise it's not some random person catcalling.
She'll head over to Timmy in the alleyway and just walk up to him and go, "That was subtle."
I was quiet. I was whispering.
You really weren't. You really weren't.
Oh.
Right.
Sorry? Do we know where Zeke is?
We left him shopping. I think he was after armour, but...
The last time you saw him, he was near Bungo's House of Boys.
It could have been for armour. Not very protective armour.
Yes. But yes, anyway, that's the last place you saw him.
I guess we ought to go and find him, really.
I think we probably should.
Last time we left him near there, he kind of got accosted.
Very true, he did. We'd better go, make sure he's alright.
Do we know which way we're heading?
It's Ooze Town. There's basically one direction. Well, there's two. There's into the river and away from it.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, you basically have a small bridge to cross, and then you are in the outskirts of the merchant quarter. If you keep going downriver, you will reach the Salties Enclave, and then you will reach the sea. And just off to sort of the right as you head on down the river, eventually there is the hill. The hill, as they call it. And atop it is the citadel, or the little, the little stronghold. I say little, pretty bloody big, but the stronghold in which Al lives. So, yeah, you can pretty easily head towards like the Merchant Square.
Okay.
Definitely do that.
Yep.
Keeping an eye out for him.
Okay. Are you keeping an eye out for anything else as you go along? Or are you how paranoid are we being?
I think we'd probably be looking out for anyone that we might notice might be Bill's associates or might look like they might be.
Okay.
They seem to have a certain look about them.
They do. I realise I probably need to elucidate on that a bit more, but hey. Yeah, as you head into the town, you notice there are, almost just peppered through the crowd at random as people start to move around. There are people dressed in similar, not identical shades of sort of dark blue. All of them have these dark blue jackets, and on their left arms there is an armband that's sort of it's sort of a rust red with an A on it. The A is just made of anything that happened to be available, it seems. There are some that are made of leather, there are some that are thread, there are some who've got little bits of metal. But, yeah. It might denote a rank of some kind, it might just be they were told to make them. And some of these people are armed openly, and some of them just appear to be big fellas. Now, there are also big ladies there, but the ones that are especially standing out at this particular moment are the tall fellas who sort of stick up through the top of the crowd.
And would we know what that A stood for?
You could probably intuit that it means Al, but you don't know for sure. You haven't asked anyone about it. The guys who were carrying Bill around earlier, and the thugs who were the thugs who were beating you earlier and shot your mate through the head in the pub 2 sessions ago were dressed like this.
Okay.
Yeah, there were a fair few of them. They don't seem to move around in very large groups. They just seem to sort of pepper through the crowd at random. Although, if any of them did sort of raise a shout, they could probably pull in a few others.
Are there any on their own?
Most of them are on their own.
Okay.
Yeah, the largest group you see is probably no larger than 3 or 4. You know, sitting outside a pub having a drink.
Okay, in which case I think I'm going to turn to Anita and hopefully less loudly than I whispered before. So we need to find Zeke and get back here, and maybe we can have a word with one of these gentlemen.
Sounds like a good idea. Definitely sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
Right, well, while you're making your plans for how to treat these denim-jacketed gentlemen, we should cut back to Zeke. Zeke, you've just had your life threatened by a leather worker because she believes you're leading her daughter astray. What are you doing next? You've just walked out of an armourer's. I mean, she was perfectly pleasant and sweet to you after she'd given you a warning, but you know, here you are, armoured up, back on the road.
I'm trying to remember whether or not I heard that the other two were going to head towards the bleed before I wandered off. Because if so, I would be heading back in that direction.
That'd be fair enough. I mean, it's basically the only other place you've really hung out in this town.
And that I may or may not be barred from now, but that's by the by.
I don't think you'd even consider that for starting a single fight.
Okay. So yeah, I will head on in the direction that I believe the bleed to be in.
Okay. Yeah. As you walk out of out of Erica's leatherworks, you open up their little knackered driftwood picket fence gate and stroll on out. The child, who no one asked their name, waves you goodbye. Nigel pulls her inside, like, don't you talk to him. He's a strange man from the north. And as you do, you notice that that absolutely wonderful, narrow-hipped, statuesque man with the large moustache and the brothel token chainmail is making the rounds in the square again.
Having noticed that, can I go in the opposite direction to him?
I want you to take a reflex save. And at the same time, I shall take a perception check for this man.
10.
Okay, yeah, you managed to duck, you immediately duck into the next building along, as you come out of the leatherworks, and you dive through a beaded curtain in a doorway, and you step inside this building, and the first thing you notice is that all of the lights, and it's artificially lit in here, are pink or red. And there are lots of bean bags on the floor and low tables, and it takes you a few moments to register, but you cannot see any women in here. Everyone in here appears to either be a man or at least visually male, and they're draped over these beanbag chairs and pillows around these tables, smoking hookahs and being fetched like drinks with what you assume are chunks of fruit in. Although these drinks, it kind of undercuts the effort they're making. Some of these drinks seem to be served in tuna cans, or but they're all sort of small drinks with chunks of something that's assumedly fruit or vegetable. One of them has what's quite clearly a little umbrella stuck in it that has been made out of a tin can and a nail.
Okay.
And there's fragranced smoke like billowing through the air and incense burning somewhere.
Can I attempt to sneak out of here and not be noticed?
You can give me a sneak, but you've probably been noticed. It's more of a can you slip back out without anyone mentioning it.
That is a 12, not natural.
Okay. Being you've basically dived through this door, you know you've been noticed. Like the people sitting at these tables, there's a person standing with a large tray of apparently fruity drinks, like staring you straight in the face. This beautiful, slim, tanned boy, and he literally has the word "boy" tattooed on the top side on one of his pecs, with an I, BOI. He goes to offer you the tray, and you just duck back through the curtains. And as the beads sort of bash aside from your shoulder, you see him just sort of shrug. Oh, how rude! And you go back out. No one appears to have noticed the commotion of these beads outside. Nigel's still looking at you from the door of Erica's. It's just like, fair enough, honest mistake. Jerry, in your backpack, appears a little annoyed. Apparently he smelt the fruit. But yeah, you duck back out. No one appears to have noticed that you dived into Bungo's House of Boys, apart from that one guy who offered you a fruity cocktail.
Okay. Still taking pains to avoid chainmail shirt boy. I will make my way once again in the direction.
Are you going to continue looking at Chainmail Shirt Boy, like in an effort to make sure you don't go anywhere near him by accident? Because he is simply meandering around this courtyard, in an effort to in an attempt to basically strip himself once again of all these small tokens held together on a flimsy wire mesh.
I don't think I'm paying that much attention.
Okay. What are you paying attention to? Are you trying not to be seen? Are you trying to be quiet? Are you trying to stay out of his eye line?
Yeah, pretty much that. I don't want to be harassed by this guy again. Sort of. Like
okay,
so someone you know out in public and think, nah, not today.
Okay, yeah. So you occasionally sort of chuck a glance to where you last saw him, like locate him, and then sort of duck back into the crowd and head the other way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. You merge with a crowd of men who are quite clearly engaged in sort of labour at the docks. They've got sort of tar on their hands from ropes. They smell of of salt and mud. They smell a bit like your coat did. And they're all coming out of Bungo's, and you just sort of merge with the crowd, Assassin's Creed style, and wander back into sort of the square. And a few of them are like, "Hello, didn't notice you in there." I'm sure we could have bought you a drink. I like 'em big. I like 'em small. I like 'em. What can I say? I like 'em any old way. What's your name, beautiful?
And with that, I exit the square.
Okay. With that, you do you exit the square or exit the group?
Both.
You attempt to do both. Okay, yeah. You How quickly are you bolting? Are you being? Are you rebuffing this man's advances? He's being perfectly pleasant. Yeah, he's not being overly forceful about it. He's just, he's interested.
Essentially, it would be the polite no.
Okay, yeah, you're just like, nope, sorry, nope, nope, nope. But you're perfectly wonderful, cheerio. Yeah, you duck out of this group, towards like the nearest alleyway out of the square, and you exit the group. You immediately look for Chainmail Boy. You don't want to bump into Chainmail Boy again, and you bump into a shorter fellow. He appears to have very dark tanned skin, and very short cropped hair that's been bleached white along with his eyebrows. But his beard is sort of a more natural, like sort of dark brown. And you're not entirely sure if he's. You're not sure if he's naturally effeminate or has been starved. But what you can see of his body, and there's a lot of it on show, is very, very girl-like. And he's basically wearing chaps. And that's it. Chaps and a similar sort of chainmail piece that attaches sort of under the Empire line, I believe it's called, and hangs downwards. And he breaks off one of these tokens and is like, "This is for you." And he breaks off a handful more, basically revealing anything he might have been hiding, and throws it into the group of dock workers. It's like, "And that's for my boys." And you notice once again he has on his pec "boy" tattooed. He doesn't appear to be overly forceful. He's just like, "Here you are," and keeps going. He wanders into Tim's. If you recall Tim's. I think it was Tom's, that was it. He wanders into the oddity shop. You are standing next to Tom's oddity shop currently. So you know your way from here. You can head on out of the square.
Yeah, I will reverse my way back to the bleeding hubs of running into the other two.
Okay, yeah. As you're exiting the square, you see the other two heading towards it. And the crowd, the group of dock workers passes them, and you clearly saw the you certainly saw the B's from the G's, as some heads turn and some don't. But no judgment. They just head on back to work. Most of them settle down by the riverbank and wait for someone to come along and need their services. Yeah, it's not like Teamsters. But yeah, you're all together again. Woohoo!
So I think at this point we probably need to tell Zeke about these guys in their blue uniforms with their red armbands, and that it might be worthwhile for us to have a little chat with one of them. See if we can find Herbert. So Timmy's going to suggest that she has a bit of a plan. Zeke, remember how your coat smelt like so bad it made everyone run away?
Yeah, I remember that. It was like an hour ago.
Yeah. If we maybe took some not of your coat, but like some cloth or something, and maybe like dunked it in the river, maybe if we could make something smell that bad, we could use it like say not so much an anesthetic, but a way of making people not want to breathe for a little while. And borrow one of these gentlemen off into a dark corner somewhere.
I've never seen it done that way before, but I'm supposing you could. Maybe Anita's got more of a tried and tested method in that bag of hers to to deal with folk as such.
Yeah. I don't want to say chloroform, but
I don't think she does, unfortunately.
um,
No, I don't have anything that could do that, but the mud should work.
Did you not end up with some morphia?
we
Only
do.
one dose.
So not enough.
So you've got to find someone small. You've got to find the scrappy one.
Yeah. Or we've still got that perfume.
We do still have that perfume.
Yes.
That perfume may well work a lot better than river mud.
For what? For making someone not want to breathe anymore.
Wanting them, that we don't want them to scream. Because if they scream, they've got to breathe in deeply, and they're not going to want to breathe in deeply if they've got their face covered in perfume. Or mud.
Or both.
Yeah.
So this has gone from chloroforming to just gagging them very tightly and waiting for them
Only
to
for a
pass
short-
out.
No, only for a short time. Just so they don't scream.
Okay.
For now.
Okay. Suppose.
Because
Yeah.
we want some information from them. But we don't really want people to hear them as they're escorted away.
Actually, Zeke, having been told about these uniforms, like you've seen them around, but you weren't really paying much notice. You try to stay off of. You try to stay away from people in uniforms. It generally doesn't treat. It generally doesn't do you very well when people in uniforms take notice of you. You do know that there were a lot of them in bungos. A lot of the people in bungos were either wearing or sitting near these jackets.
Okay. Well, I've seen a bunch of lads in those jackets go into that place over there. Don't know whether you might want to get the drop on someone when they're a bit more secluded.
Okay. And you reckon they're not going to make a fuss in there?
I reckon, given the type of establishment it is, there'll be enough noise to cover it.
So when you were in there, and we're going to assume you were in there, did you see any dark exits anywhere we could kind of drag somebody out the back?
No, I didn't spend 30 seconds assessing the situation before I made an exit.
Would Anita know anyone in that establishment?
Are they itchy?
Almost remarkably, Bungo's is quite a clean establishment. There's less itching going around. I mean, naturally, in a port, if one brothel has a dose of the itch going on, it tends to spread. But there's no one you can bring to mind who's come to you, with boy tattooed on them. You probably would have noticed that. But you never know. I mean, patrons might have come to you, or at least, a patron might have got something you sold from someone else and used that. This may be a post-apocalyptic future, but people are still, embarrassed about their STIs that they picked up in brothels, to some degree.
Okay.
So do we want to try and find one of these uniformed people from there?
I think it's probably better than dragging them off the street.
More stealthy.
Yeah. Do you think you can manage stealth?
Probably not.
So what's the plan?
So if somebody is a little bit more stealthy than Timmy, perhaps they'd like to acquire one of these gentlemen, and we can have a chat with him. I'm assuming Timmy would probably know somewhere around the Salty Enclave, where there would be like an abandoned ship or something that we could utilise.
It would be decidedly risky to try and drag someone from the market quarter to the Salty Enclave. And then you'd have to convince the Salties to let you in with a hostage.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, they might, you know, the leader of the Salties Enclave has already said she's not too happy about you being back.
Given the fact that I only saw people sat around drinking, it's safe to assume that there are private rooms elsewhere.
Oh, yes.
So, finding someone and manoeuvring them into one of these rooms might not be the most difficult thing in the world, versus dragging them through the streets.
Yeah. Although there is the whole thing of, you know, propositioning a patron in a brothel is an odd way to go around using a brothel. I mean, I'm not going to say it won't work, but they're not there for you.
Could we proposition one of the boys to proposition for us?
That might work.
Could conceivably, yeah. In fact, just out of curiosity, what's Zeke's charisma?
Zeke's charisma is 28.
Okay, so you're not a repulsive person. You know, you're just a little lacking in social graces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
As probably most people that carry around scuzzles may well be.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you're as I say, you're not a repulsive person. You're well within the brackets of average. You know, you're just a man of few words, apparently. You know, and maybe someone inside will find that very attractive. You know, before you go throwing the money you don't have at people from bungos. I mean, well, it depends, you know. I mean,
Maybe you could pose as an employee of Bungo's.
yes, this is a port town. You could probably get a tattoo that says "boy" with that obnoxious try harder spelling.
And then proposition one of the guards that way.
How about we don't do that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it might go. It could quickly go from Rotten Under Ooze Town to Zeke's Adventures in Homoeroticism.
It's an option.
Yeah, it's an option, but you know, I will say, you know, this is just the only brothel you've been in. There are others.
We could always head back to where we stayed the night.
You could, but you didn't see any customers there, and it's been hours. You were staying in the staff quarters. You were purposely segregated from the customers.
True.
They weren't
Because-
very happy with us as we left either.
That is true.
Well,
Maybe
they're
not
not.
there then.
They weren't very happy with me specifically. I
Yeah,
believe.
they weren't too keen with the dude carrying a severed head covered in stinking mud. You know, I mean, they're all up for people getting away with anything they want to when they're in their little when they're in their container out the front. You know, sealed in there with a member of staff and some oversight from the post-gen bouncer. But jumping off the side of the ship and covering yourself in, you know, a positively scatological substance while carrying around severed body parts, that they're like, nah. You know, snuff and public scat is not their bag.
I mean, surely it would also be conceivable that if these people are frequenting brothels during working hours, they will be frequenting bars.
Oh yeah, you've seen Anita at least. Anita and Timmy have seen them sitting in bars. Yeah, and typically in groups of no larger than 3 or 4.
I
Yeah.
want them alone, so bars may not be a good idea.
And they tend to wander around in sort of 1s or 2s in the crowd. In a period, in a sort of an approach remarkably similar to Bobby's on the Beat, but on a far more sort of macro, collecting protection on any sort of level. Or micro. There we are. That's the one. Not macro.
We could find an alleyway to.
You could return to alleyways. Alleyways have apparently been good to you.
You like a good alleyway.
Yes. So essentially, you're going to go back to the Joe Chill plan of waiting in Crime Alley for some people to come by. All right.
Works.
Which alleyway? Where are you going to try and hide? There are 3 brothels on the market square. There's Bungo's House of Boys. There is Rachel's House of Ribald Valkyries. And there's Butts. It's just called Butts. The sign literally just says Butts, don't judge. It's just people with butts.
Maybe for Zeke's peace of mind, we ought to maybe avoid the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I mean, your choices are your own, but, Bungos will miss you. So, are you going to attempt to go to Rachel's House of Ribald Valkyries, or...
You know the dock workers?
Yeah, I know the dock workers.
Could we potentially bribe one of them to start something with one of these guys and then leg it into an alleyway? Where we may or may not be waiting?
Have we got anything to bribe them with?
I'm skin.
Same.
I've got a file of stim.
Actually, no. I've got some couple of death sticks.
Alternatively, if we spoke to one of these guys, maybe to like the entrance of an alley, obviously not the 3 of us, but if maybe one of us spoke to them, do you think they would come over and talk to us?
Yeah, I mean, a few of them sort of catcalled. Well, to be fair, you were standing as a group at the time. You're not entirely sure who they catcalled at, but there were catcalls.
Okay. So there's this trick, and I know that we picked up some needle and thread last time, where if you create a loop with the thread and you kind of hold it in your hand, if you put your hand on theirs, you can get it round a finger and pull it. If you pull it and hold on to it, if they try and pull away, the thread will then go around the knuckle, and if they try and pull away, it's going to unsheath their finger. So we might be able to persuade them to come into the alley that way.
We will leave that up to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's all down to you what approaches you want to take to try and apparently lure someone entirely unrelated into an alleyway. Some innocent person who apparently was just irrepressibly horny after leaving a brothel. So either they weren't paid enough, or they're just some kind of satiromaniac. give it a go if you want. Hello?
I don't think we should be attacking random people.
Okay.
I think we should just go for one of the guards.
Alright.
Yeah, let's try and persuade one of the guards towards an alleyway, and then...
Okay, so, have you selected an alleyway? The alleyway next to Tim's has always served you well. You got a hand cart full of street meat there once. Yeah.
Why not? Let's go to Tim's. No,
Tom's. Was it Tom's? Yeah. Keep
We'll
getting that
go
wrong.
to Tom's and procure someone from there.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, you stroll the entirety of like the 10 meters around the front of Tom's, and where all of the assorted dross is out the front, to pull in the interested public. You step round, a large gilded birdcage, a large broken like antique anchor, and a diving helmet with no glass, with plants growing out of it, and into this alleyway. And it's just like you remembered. It's a shitty little alleyway that runs almost directly from the Merchant Square down towards the dockside, which is convenient way of getting goods up from the dockside.
Once the other two are in there, I'm going to sort of gesture to stay here a moment and then go around front and then shout, "Oi Tom, he's nicking your stuff!" And as he pays for a level of protection, hopefully it will include from other things, not just the ones requesting the money.
Yeah. This is just a convoluted plot to try and get me to remember the Tom voice, isn't it? Okay. Yeah. So you shout, "Oi Tom, someone's nicking your stuff!" And a woman you hadn't seen before when you went into Tom's comes out, and she's a great deal younger than Tom. You would still probably place her in her late 40s, but she's a great deal younger than Tom. Comes out, and she's got a stick, and she's got some some flashes of white in her hair, and she just looks around for a moment.
He did a runner down that way, and I sort of point to the alleyway where the other two are laying in wait.
"Those bastards!" And she goes, and she runs back to the door, and she grabs the bell off the door and hits it with a stick. "Thief! Thief!" And within moments there are 3 or 4 these big burly guardsmen running around. One of them's trying to push through a crowd of what appears to be sailors who are heading their way into the more ribald quarter of the Merchant's Quarter. All the leather workers and the bottles seem to be clustered in one corner of the square, and they're heading that way. So there's one guy who's clearly trying to get there, and he's not getting far. Another one steps out of Butts and just starts to stroll like casually around the outside of the square. And one steps out of Tom's. She's just like, "For fuck's sake, stop that! It's loud! Some of us have hangovers." Where did he go? She's like, "Over there in the alleyway!" Oh, fuck. And he stomps around the corner, and you see him pulling like a big heavy club off of his belt. It's clearly got it. It's not studded with anything sensible. It seems to be studded with entirely with drawing pins that at some point might have been heated up. They've melted together a bit. But yeah, it seems to be like a chair leg with drawing pins stuck in it. So it's nice and shiny, which he doesn't appear to appreciate too much. It's like, "Where do they go?" You, where'd they go?
They did a runner down that way. It's a chap in a green coat and what looked to be like some trousers.
Green coat and trousers. Oh, this is going to be easy. He starts to sort of lope past it. At full mosey. He's... The guy's quite clearly hungover. He's got like big dark circles under his eyes. You know. But fair enough. You know, he smells of booze as he walks past. You know, he starts... You know, after sort of 15 steps, he starts to use his club as a walking stick. You know, he's clearly on his way. He's a big, hefty bloke, but he's clearly not in any fit state for guarding today. So yeah, he starts to lope off down the alleyway. There you are.
Okay. So how are we going to stop this guy?
I have a nice big stick I could hit him with.
It's probably about 5 meters past Zeke at this point. You know, I don't know how deep you are into the alleyway, but you know, he's coming. He's probably drawing about... He's almost level with you now. Are you making any attempts to hide? Have you been retroactively making any attempt to hide?
Is there anything in the alleyway that we can hide behind?
Oh yeah, all manner of shit. You know, there's like old wheelie bins that are like been, you know, burned and half melted. There's, you know, broken boxes, you know, all sorts of filth and dross.
Okay, so I think what we could do then is if we move a few of the boxes, if they're larger boxes, like opposite each other, and then if we then hide behind those boxes, if we hold one end of the string each but quite low level, if he's still hung over, he can then trip over that.
I like that idea.
Okay, is that what you're doing?
Yep.
Cool. Yep, he's definitely drawing near. He briefly spares a look at these two boxes that are, you know, perfectly symmetrical in the alleyway. It's like, huh, weird. But he doesn't really pay much notice. He is just about to kick your wire. Yeah?
Yeah.
Reflex. He's doing something in the spur of the moment. You have to do it on time. You can't do it too early or he'll see. Leaning very heavily on reflex in this campaign so far.
10. 10.
Yep.
9.
Yep, you do absolutely fine. You both pull it tight, you know, just in like the nick of time. His like club walking stick hits the rope first, hits the string first, and like twangs back into his shin. And as he sort of stumbles forward to steady himself, he kicks it with the other foot and goes over. You know, the club now sort of lodges itself quite firmly in his crotch. He goes over onto this upright table leg, sort of thigh first, and it slides into the crotch. You know, he slumps over. He's done. He's having a bad day, and he's making no bones about it. He's swearing colourfully. Oh, fucking... Oh, Jesus. This is so humiliating. What? What's going on? So, yeah.
Are we visible at this point?
Oh yeah, he's laying there like... Unless you're really hiding like perfectly behind this box, he's now laying, you know, parallel with you, facing in the direction of one or the other of you.
Rather than to him, but are we visible to other people?
If there's anyone at the other end of the alleyway, probably. You know, you're just two people crouching, holding a piece of string. You know, you're not ninjas. You know, you were sitting behind some larger boxes, so people at the Tom's side of the alleyway have just seen someone fall over. Yeah.
I think I'll move and sort of cover that end of the alleyway. So anyone looking down will sort of see a big by a smallish, average-sized northern bloke.
With a big coat.
Yeah.
Yeah. You look like you're trying to sell people, Rolexes or something.
Yeah.
You're looking a bit Del Boy.
hmm
But yeah, this alleyway. When I say an alleyway, this is more of a sort of an unpaved, narrow street. It's probably only sort of 4 people wide, but standing in the middle of it, there's sort of like a little like wooden step down from the shops on either side. There's like this, thing. So you can stand in the middle. Like people could, if they take any effort to look past you, they can probably still see. But just in passing, they just see a bloke standing in an alleyway. It's not particularly interesting. Do you want to try and do anything to not just look like a dude suspiciously standing in an alleyway?
Yes, I will fish out the remaining meat on a stick from my previous purchase and look as if I'm attempting to sell it.
Okay, yeah. Give me your best spiel. Yeah. A group of people walk past. They glance over. You're standing there holding, I think it's 10 skewers of street meat.
Something
You had
like
left.
that.
Screw it. We'll say you had 6 left. I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come get the last what I got. It's been going quick. Get on it before you lose out. That's as good as it's gonna get.
Okay. Yeah. A crowd of happy ladies strolling out of Rachel's house of ribald Valkyries. On their way back up to the Bleed for a well-deserved afternoon drink. Sort of pass by and they're like, ugh. I don't want that. Yuck. And there's one, presumably the less cultured one of them. You see she has sort of ratty hair. It's badly bleached. It's sort of tied up in little dreadlocky braids, and clearly in the manner of someone who just can't be bothered to do much with their hair, and it's grown to a big sort of cloud. She's is that it? Is that what you got?
Afraid so. 5 for attack. 5 for attack.
Attack. Yeah, I'll get on that. And she turns to one of her mates and just like opens a little bag on her belt and takes attack out. Like, you bitch, what are you doing? Like, I want something to eat. Shut up, you slag. And and she accepts it. She's like, why not? Yeah. And you have retained attack and lost 5 street meat.
Mm-hmm.
She stands there, starts eating. It's like, oh, it's a bit. Oh God, it's fucking hard. Actually, it's not too bad. And she pulls the skewers off the others and like eats them out of her hand. She goes, what would be really good with this? And they're like, what? They clearly have no time for her anymore. She's like, some kind of flat bread. Maybe some sort of garlic mayonnaise. Oh. They're all like, oh, you're fucking sick, Sally. Oh, you're not right. But yeah, as they wander off pondering what would be better than a kebab, they're hankering for a greasy kebab in the middle of the day. I had half a dozen people I could possibly name. So congratulations, you've basically sold like day-old kebab meat to someone. But you're now standing there, you're now just a man standing there holding a skewer of kebab meat. Like, nothing to see here. And some little kids run up and they're just like, why are you standing in an alleyway?
That's what we do up in the north, isn't it? That's all they're gonna get.
The north sounds weird. You stand in alleyways with street meat. That sounds odd. I'm going to tell everyone that you're strange. And they skip away through the crowd going, look at the weirdo. He's so strange. His coat smells funny. I think I saw his bag move. I think it's full of toads. You know. Apparently you neither charmed nor gave a compelling excuse to these children. They're calling all manner of attention to you. Although most people just, oh, really? Great, wonderful. What are you doing to tell them? You know, these kids meander through.
It was that or he invited them into the alley.
Why, hello, kids. Why don't you come with me to the darker, more secluded part of the Merchant Square? I think you might have made the right choice. Yeah. Stranger danger!
Mayday!
Oh, Zeke is now just the danger stranger. But yeah. And then they run over and they start talking to the little girl standing outside of Erica's, and she's like, "No, he's my friend. Why are you being so mean about him? He has a scuzzle." You know, you can't really hear, but you get the impression that she's like, "No, he's lovely." You know, and they start to mock her a bit. One of them throws a bit of mud. Erica comes out and throws a much, much larger stone at them. Not necessarily at them, but in their general direction. It hits a puddle and they run away. But yeah. So yeah, you've pretty accurately deflected any attention from what's going on up here. People are still looking, but they're looking at the weird northern bloke who's, you know, stonewalling children and selling street meat to whores. Well, you never know. They might not have been, but you know, you don't know what tattoo the workers at the House of Ribald Valkyries have, if they even have one. Who knows? You haven't even inquired as to what kind of establishment it is. So yes. But anyway, back in the alleyway, we have a hungover man laying in a street, having just cuddled himself in the knackers and tripped over a trip line. He's not having a good day.
He's not.
How are you going to make it worse?
We need to take that bat away from him first of all.
Yep.
Okay. How are you going to go about that?
Anita's going to walk over to him and just say, "You all right, mate?" Well, pat him on the back and try to subtly take away the big stick.
The big stick from between his legs.
Yeah.
The big shiny stick from between his legs. Oh.
Under the pretense of trying to make him feel better.
Yeah. At this point, the stick has actually sunk. Like, it's sunk slightly into the mud and is actually standing like a jaunty angle off from the ground. He's fallen over it. So it's sort of sticking out from the mud between his boots as he fell forward. So he's just left. Oh, god damn. Anyway, there's a definite sort of tracks of tears on his dusty face as he tries to stand up. You know, do you help him?
I try and help him to the side so he's behind the tower of boxes, so that he's not as visible from the side of the streets.
Okay, yeah. He takes a proffered hand and sort of, you know, he pulls himself up and he goes and sits on. I mean, to be fair, the boxes aren't in a really great state to be sat on, but he goes and sits on the boxes anyway. You know, and they crunch a little under his weight. But yeah, he sits on there. He's like, fucking bastard! Don't suppose you saw this green-coated bastard running away down the alleyway?
No, I don't recall seeing anyone.
Fuck, that's not going to do well. That's not going to go down well. So,
Who's it not going to go down well with?
Well, Tom, Bill, Al, the other guys.
And hearing him talk about Bill, obviously Timmy's going to be aware that we are potentially going to be watched. So what she's going to do is she's going to kind of like flare her coat out a little bit and just kind of squat over him, like over his lap. So if somebody does look down there, maybe they look like they're having a cuddle. But
In flagrante.
in between, like, she is going to take her nail gun and point it at the bit that landed on his bat.
All right.
Tell me more about Bill.
What? What's
Bill,
what?
where can we find him?
What's going on? What?
You don't need to worry. Just tell me where we can find him.
The other one. Your friend's gone nuts. What's going on?
Just answer her questions and you'll be fine.
Oh shit. Yeah, Bill. He was stopping off for a drink with one of his favourites.
Drink? Okay, what's the favourite and where is he?
I don't know. I'm assigned to Tom's. It's not like
You're not being very helpful, dear.
I'm assigned to Tom's. It's not like I'm on close protection. It's not like I'm one of the favourites.
One of the
And he
favourites.
goes like, look, and he shows you his little like rusty red band on his arm, and like the A on it is literally drawn on with mud. Yeah, there's like a little bit of stitching. Like he started doing it on one side, but like it's clearly been drawn on with like chalky mud.
Okay, and who are the favourites?
You know, the favourites, the guys who the guys who get to sleep on the hill and know the family and Can you take that off my nuts?
Give me names first.
Or ways to tell the difference.
Well, their armbands are nicer than mine. They tend to have like metal or nicely worked leather or something.
Their armbands are metal?
And the A's.
The A's.
Yeah, and they tend to be standing next to someone, impressive looking.
Okay.
And
where does he
they're not
like to
they're not
drink?
guarding that nutter in that shop. Tom tried to sell me a teacup 5 times. I was holding it already.
Bit of a tangent there. Where does he like to drink? I'm just going to nuzzle the nail gun a little bit harder down.
He likes to drink where he can get it free. Whoever owes them the most that week, whoever hasn't made their payments right, or on time, he tends to go there.
Okay, make a short list for me. 3, 2.
He likes brothels.
Brothels.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. You've been very helpful, and I shoot the nail gun.
Ah, you fucking bastard. Well, I don't think there's
On the
any.
end screen.
There's oh god. Well, give me a to hit roll just to make sure you don't botch. You might crit. It might be even more amusing. It's the last thing we need is this all to end with like your gun exploding in a misfire.
That would be...
Anything but a 12 or an 11. Okay, yeah. You fire a nail gun into his crotch and it has the effect you expected. He's attached to the box he was sitting on in a new and exciting way.
He's going to turn to Timmy and say, "Did you actually need to shoot him?"
Yeah,
I didn't get names.
It's just a tad extreme.
As Pinhead would say, his suffering would be legendary even in hell. You get the sense that he's trying to scream, But he's trying to do it so hard that it's not making a noise. So hard and so high pitched, it's just not making noise. He makes a sort of raspy, gasping sound, and his eyes roll into his head, and he just flops back. There's quite a bit of blood and other fluids. It's not pleasant. It's easily your third best torture method, or torture outcome. He told you half of what you wanted to know, and for some reason you felt the need to emasculate him in an alleyway with a nail gun. So, yeah.
I put the nail gun back, and I think I'm going to walk up behind Zeke, tap him on the shoulder, went, right, brothels.
Before Anita joins us, would you just check to see what the guy's got on him?
Well, the first thing you notice that he has on him is a 9-inch nail through his left scrotum.
But I already knew that, so...
Well, having patted him down, you now know the finer details. Yeah, he'll... his trousers were previously quite nice. Not anymore. They're now comprehensively soiled. He's got a fairly nice set of boots on him. They seem to be held together, fairly well. They've clearly been, submitted to the leatherworks a few times and patched up. But hey, he's got his jacket, which you already knew. And he has a small bag of tack on his belt.
Yeah, gonna take that.
Okay. Congratulations, you have 4 tack. And you also notice he has sort of like it's like a small leather box thing you tend to get on sort of military belts, a small leather box with like a popper on it to put things in. And you notice inside it he has 8 bullets. He doesn't seem to have a gun, but he has 8 bullets.
I'm gonna take those as well.
Yeah. They seem to be sort of quite small. They probably fit some kind of, easy to handle pistol. But either he's had his gun taken away, or he just wasn't given one today. Or he might have lost it. It might still be in Tom's. Who knows? Maybe he sold it. But yeah, you have a bullet, 4 tack. Oh yeah, and there's that big club. Big shiny club. Although it is quite shiny. It might be quite singularly like that bloke's club.
Yeah, gonna leave the club.
Okay. Where are you going to leave the club? Because it's currently sticking up in pride of place in the centre of the alleyway.
She's gonna remove it from pride of place and shove it down the back of one of the wheelie bins.
I was wondering where that sentence was going.
She's not Timmy.
Okay, Timmy, you're kind of splattered with crotch blood, which is a passingly good look, I suppose. It's really only sort of on your knees. You were crouching on a box at the time. But yeah, you've got like splatters of blood on your knee. So when the guards turn up, as they do,
Before they turn up.
Yeah, they're turning up. They're at you now. This is the end of your distraction. Guards are now standing. 2 other guards are standing at the mouthway of the alleyway. Like, here, what's going on down there? Well, there's a thief. What are you doing?
One of your mates just ran down there, said, "Watch this way," and if you were to show up, to point you round the other way, to make sure no one came through here.
Big bloke, shiny stick, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh fuck. Ollie's fucking useless. Frank, you go down there. I'll go around the other side. And bloke you were talking to runs around the other side of the building, and apparently Frank runs straight past you.
Do we hear this? So are we with Zeke at this point?
You're literally just chucking this club into a wheelie bin at this point.
Okay.
You're a pair of bloodstained people with a brutalized guard disposing of his weapon in an alleyway.
Anita is going to start shouting, help him, someone attacked him.
Right. Frank runs on down. Frank's a young fella. He looks pretty athletic. He's not as big and sort of chubby as the others. Nor is he as built. He runs on down and he's holding a pistol in one hand and like a knife in the other, which is a bit silly, but hey. It's a look, and he's holding the knife. It's in the sheath at his waist. He's just got his hand on the hilt, and it's like, where are they? Where'd they go? Ollie, you all right? You all right, Ollie? And Ollie's just Ollie's not going anywhere. Which way was that?
That way, and point in the opposite direction to where Zeke is.
Yeah. Okay. I think you meant like at the end of the alleyway. Which way?
I point towards the river.
That's straight ahead. Okay. Right. So yeah, he just pounds it on down towards the river. Yeah. Pulls his knife out and jumps over the side, like down towards the mud.
I look at Timmy and go, we better scarper.
Agreed. We're going to walk up to Zeke.
Yeah.
1 arm each. And go, so, brothels.
So, it's been a while, but I suppose.
It's been literally 20 minutes. Come on, off we go.
Oh. Yes, you head back towards the I can't remember. I think the Ribald corner. Of the merchants' quarter. There's a sort of a large merchant square you're in at the moment. There's a few stalls in the middle, but mainly it's the established shops around the outside. As you cross it, there's Erica's on one side of this corner. So as you actually come to the corner, there's Erica's standing right on the corner. There's Steve's meat place next to it, and then next to that there is Butts, and on the other side there is Bungo's House of Boys, and there are a few little shops in between, and then you have Rachel's House of Ribald Valkyries. So yeah.
Where is Bill most likely to be?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Anita knows that Jim never specified a gender for the people that Bill spends time with. Zeke may suspect that the House of Boys caters in boys for boys, but he never stopped to ask. So,
given the fact that I've been given 2 tokens for that?
I think you gave away one.
Yeah.
I think it was part of your payment for your vest. You literally just opened your pockets and went, here.
And is Butts gender specific?
You don't know. You have no idea.
Do we take 1 each?
Let's not split up. From what that guy was saying, he's probably got protection, so the more of us together, the better.
Yeah.
So where are you going first? We're all sticking together and diving into brothels.
Is bungo? Was it butts then bungos or?
It's from left to right. It's Rachel's, bungos, and butts.
Bungos?
Starting in the middle. That's
Yeah, let's do it.
an innovative approach.
Well, then we can decide which way to go depending on how people react.
Fair enough. All right. Yeah, you stroll up to bungos. You know, it is festooned almost Austin Powers style with a number of large, like, male symbols, and a rather streaky and like colorblind attempt at a rainbow flag has been painted on the front, but it appears to have like 4 colors, and you're not entirely sure what they were meant to be. It appears to be various shades of sort of yellow, orange, and red, with a blue stripe across it. You're like, And to be fair, the symbol probably wouldn't mean anything to most of you anyway. But yeah, you stroll up to bungos. There is the beaded curtains. There's the smell of incense and some manner of sort of smoky, sweaty stench. So yeah, you're standing outside this beaded curtain.
Ladies first, I suppose.
Just shrug and walk in.
Yeah.
Okay. At this point, it behooves us to address Anita. How noticeably gendered is Anita? Because rotters have a tendency to sort of become androgynously rotten.
She's pretty androgynous. There's not really all that much to show that she is female at a
Okay.
casual glance.
Yeah. Fair enough. But Timmy is, in fact, an intact human female, at least
She's
physically. You know, she's not rotten. She hasn't had 100 years of radiation exposure destroy her outer her outer appearance and secondary sexual characteristics. Yeah. Anita walks in and draws some glances, and most people, after a few sort of moments, sort of just shrug and go back to their drinks. Timmy, however, there's definitely a slight air of hostility. They're not. No, none of the customers are telling you to leave. But there's one of the boys over by the bar who is pointing at the no breeders sign. And there's clearly 2 pictures that have been taken from, a toilets at some point. There's the male and the female, and they're standing there, and they've been, the signs have been broken, so they're standing very close to each other. And there's a man and 2 women. The man's holding hands with the woman, and the woman's holding hands with another woman. It's just like no breeders. And clearly they're not too keen on women of any kind coming in, and especially not people who may or may not be straight. They're not particularly clear on women at all. It's Bungo's house of boys for a reason. But they're not saying anything just yet. Maybe you just need somewhere to be away from all those horrible straights. Those dirty cishets. So yeah, you stroll on in. Someone sort of passingly points at the sign. But they're waiting to see what you do first. Anita, there are boys in here who look more ladylike than. In fact, there are boys in here who look more ladylike than either of you. who knows? Maybe when the bombs went off, the Ladyboys of Bangkok were touring. Who knows? But that's a problem for another day. But yeah, the server with the big tray of fruity cocktails comes back over and offers them to Zeke and no one else. Back again so soon? Why, hello. Like, would you care for one? Or maybe two?
You seem to stand there dumbfounded for a moment. Before going, no, you're all right. I'm here on business.
Oh, aren't we all, honey? And with that, he takes what is quite clearly a tin of tuna with some lumps of something that may or may not be a fruit, and a vaguely orange liquid that's sort of translucent. It smells quite sweet, and just places it in your hand and walks away. At which point you notice that the tuxedo trousers this person is wearing, it's all they're wearing, are very tight.
Okay.
Yes. They wander back into the billowing hookah smoke and peach scented incense. Yes.
On a glance around, given the fact that no one seems to be taking much note of another guy having wandered in, would I notice any of the red armbands that look better than the rest, or better maintained?
As you look around, there are a few people. There's one table at sort of it's back in the smoker ways. There appears to be a crowd of giggling boys around a very large, imposing gentleman with a shaved head, who is proudly sitting with like his elbow on the table and his armband showing, and he clearly has like a very shiny metal A on his armband, and little stars made of metal either side of it. He clearly thinks something of himself, and he's sitting there enjoying drinks with his boys. Periodically, he stops and whispers in one's ear, or you get a little tinkle of giggling through the smoke. Periodically, he picks up the hookah pipe and takes a big heavy draw on it. But he's a bit far away for you to hear, make out what he's saying. I mean, there's tinkly like wind chimes everywhere, and smoke and people chatting.
Okay. I'll lean over to Anita and sort of ask, you got that syringe with the stuff in?
Which one?
I can't remember what it's called. What is essentially morphine?
Morphia.
Morphia.
Yeah.
You had another syringe, didn't you?
I've got a couple of syringes. I've got... Let me double check. Did I get rid of any?
I'm pretty sure you had a mystery syringe as well.
Oh no, I traded that.
Okay, fair enough.
I have got a couple of stims left and the morphia.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah.
If you hand it over, I've got an idea.
Okay.
I'm going to sort of stealth my way through this smoky environment and give him a quick jab with it.
Okay.
Obviously, to try and incapacitate him, to make him easier to move somewhere more comfortable.
So, let me elucidate this for purposes of determining a DC on my end. You're going to walk upright through a smoky bar, stealthily, towards a man you can already see, who's in a booth with 6 boys, and attempt to inject him with something in order to make him easier to move. A large, burly man in a corner booth.
Less resistive to.
Oh yeah, it's not necessarily that he'd be resisting you. You'd have to move him past 3 people, at the very least. He's sitting in the manner of like millionaires in like shitty movies. There's a table and he has like three giggling ladyboys either side of him, sort of thing. Well, I'm not going to say necessarily ladyboy. Maybe his tastes are various, but maybe you have some burly ladies, burly boys, and some femboys. Who knows? But
I'm going to regret this, but the words have already exited my brain into the ether. Therefore, yes.
Hey, well, you can change your plan. You just stated this is your plan. You are doing this. You can reconsider. You even up to the point where you roll the dice, you can still throw legendary points at not doing it. But you can make your let's take it step by step. You're making your way closer.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a sneak. Give me stealth. Give me sneaking social stealth through this room. You are just another customer with a fruity drink.
10.
10. Yeah, you don't stand out particularly. I mean, you're let's face it. No one knows you're northern until you open your mouth. So yeah, you're an average person. You're a man of average height and fairly average build, walking through the house of boys. You're not as beautiful as the boys, and you're not as wealthy as the other customers. There's nothing to attract their attention.
Okay. As I get closer, can I hear him saying anything?
Yes. As you get close, he's talking quite loudly. He's cracking jokes and bragging to his boys. He's talking about how glad I am that I got the night off from protection duty. God, it's so good to get out and see my boys, especially you, Eric. And he gives Eric a little kiss on the cheek and possibly a pinch. The boy immediately on his right, hops out of his chair a little. Oh, you damn nasty bitch! Gives him a little slap on the arm. And squeezes his muscle a little. Oh, you dirty bitch! Yes. I do love getting out and having a nice day at Bungo. A night's pleasant enough, but you can't really get stuck in. You know what I mean? Stuck in unless you have, a good 14 hours. This guy he appears to be a little worse the wear. He's slurring a little bit. He's visibly drooling over some of these boys. He's having the time of his life. He is paying almost no attention to the rest of the room. Everything he wants to see is sitting around in a paid, adoring huddle around him. Drinks are being brought to him by the dozen.
That's my reconsidered plan out the window. And so between me and him, there are at least 3 people.
There are 3 people on either side of him around a large table.
the booth is fitted to the wall.
Insofar as anything in this place is, yes.
Okay. No, I will abort and return to the other two and go, yes, it's not going to work. Time for someone else to have a crack.
Okay. Yeah, as you you come within sort of 10 feet of his table and like turn like slowly and like meander around the rest of the room, like segueing back to the back, via the bar, back towards towards your friends. And the server from earlier comes over and it's just like, lost your nerve, did you? I know, Kurt's magnificent, isn't he? Such an outstanding specimen of a man.
Well,
I don't blame you.
Don't suppose you know of the best way to sort of get to have a chat with him, would you? Just to get to know him a bit better, you know?
Well, he's a dreadful flirt. If you go over, bring him a drink. He especially likes one of these. And he nips around behind the bar and he pulls out like the only large, like, impressive tankard you've seen in this place so far. And he fills it with something that's... It's not clear. It's not cloudy. It's a colour that you can't really perceive in this light very well, because it's sort of pinkish red light. There's definitely a colour to it. If you went outside, you might be able to tell what it was. It might be pink. It might be orange. It might be yellow. I don't know. In this light, it kind of looks purple.
Okay.
Is the drink sweet?
You haven't tried it. Would be the only answer.
Zeke, is the drink sweet?
Would I know from smelling it?
Well, he's currently the other side of a bar pouring it, so
true.
it's just a weird colour. Is all you can tell. Behind the bar, it's a little darker. They've clearly tried to sort of even the lighting situation out with a darker shade of light over here, so it's sort of a darker purple.
Because if it is sweet, then we could pour the morphia into the drink and you wouldn't notice. If it's bitter, it would sweeten it up.
Okay. I'll sort of wait for him to finish pouring the drink and...
Yeah, he finishes pouring the drink and he places it on the bar. And, yeah, okay. He opens what's clearly like... from operating in this world, this is basically what functions as a till in this world. It's essentially, it's kind of like a metal filing cabinet with a chalkboard on top. And while he's doing things, he's writing down what it costs. Afterwards, he's just like, he opens up the till and he's just like, that will be 2 tack. Don't worry, I know you don't have it. Don't worry your pretty little head. And but I do seem to recall that you're quite good at getting tokens from the boys in the street, aren't you?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them around.
Yes. Well, tell you what. You hand over those tokens, and I'll give you this drink for Kurt. I mean, we're comping him his drinks anyway. We'll put it on his tab, but we can't have you taking advantage of our offers. Can't have you using a 1 free token when I'm giving you a drink.
I will dig through my pockets and return the Pungo's token I am still in possession of.
Excellent. Cool. So yes, you get given a very large drink. It's it's kind of the size of the big European steins you get at like skiing resorts. The ones that are sort of this big. The ones you could fit like a liquefied toddler's torso into or something. trying to think of a good like unit of cubic measurement, and for some reason that's the only one I could think of. So the kind of you could like fit a small animal in liquid form. But yeah, it's a big glass. It's quite heavy, and it is made of glass.
Okay.
Which is a fair rarity. You get the impression they don't sell an awful lot of these to just riff-raff off the street. But he has told you that it's Kurt's favourite, and this person apparently has some interest in you finding the courage to approach Kurt.
Okay. With an intelligence, with Zeke's intelligence being what it is, I don't think he'd have the idea to spike said drink.
I don't know. Yeah, Zeke's a hunter and a trapper. So, poisoning would be... It wouldn't necessarily be a first line, but, like, the idea of other people having tainted the water supplies and things would probably be something you're aware of. And obviously, don't kill things in standing water. You'd be aware of the concept of poisoning, and you have been given this thing, which is, you have been given the morphia now, I believe.
Does it smell sweet to me?
It's in a syringe. It smells like a syringe. The drink.
drink.
Yeah, the drink smells sweet. The drink smells, it smells very sugary. Almost syrupy in texture as well, as you move it in the glass.
Okay.
I mean, if one was to sort of theorize in modern sense, it's kind of a little bit like infant cowpole with a head. It smells delightful.
Can I sleight of hand the contents of this syringe in?
I don't think you particularly need to.
Okay.
People probably chuck all manner of filthy drugs inside these things. This is Bungo's house of boys, not, Archibald's house of chaste poverty.
Okay. I'll sort of... What did... His name was...
It was definitely strawberry flavoured cowpole.
Sorry, what was this guy's name again?
Kurt.
Kurt.
Mm-hmm.
I'll sort of hand signal discreetly to Anita and Timmy to say, "Be ready," and then sort of head over to the table and go.
Have you spiked the drink already?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you just stand at the bar and do it while the guy was watching?
No, as I was on my way over, maybe somewhat more discreetly than going into the glass.
Okay. As you give me a stealth roll. You are walking through a crowded bar. I mean, yes, it is smoky, and yes, the lighting is weird, but you are unloading a large medical syringe into a brimming full pint, basically. Oh, brimming full possibly litre of booze.
Okay.
Or so.
15.
What was it on the dice?
10.
Cool. Yeah, 15. Yeah, you slip it on in. You which for Bungo's House of Boys is a terrible phrase to use. Yeah, you slip it in. Without much to do. Very little ceremony. One of the customers sitting at a table notices and raises an eyebrow. Hey, raises a glass to you. At this point, you notice. At which point, Anita notices that this was the idiot outside of the bleed, who took that death stick by breaking it in half and chugging it. Despite the fact it's something you're meant to inhale, that's highly radioactive and quite poisonous. But yeah, and while you're doing it, he does it again. Takes a death stick out of his pocket and he snaps it in half and chugs it. and you notice his pupils just like explode. His veins take on a sort of slightly greenish cast for a few moments, and he just sits back. And his tongue like lolls out of his mouth for a little bit, and a bit of blood comes out of his nose. But yeah, you're heading over. You're back at Kurt's table pretty much, and at this point you notice that he has on like his chest of his denim jacket, he has Kurt embroidered on.
Okay.
In like thick leather like cord. Somehow, I don't think embroidered is even the term, but hey, yeah, it's sewed on in some manner. With thick leather cord, to make him look dead hard.
Sort of as I get up there, is there any like space on the end of this booth to sit, or?
Yeah, you could probably hop on one end or the other. To be fair, you could probably muscle over someone if you really wanted to. You could sit on the table. Depends how much of a statement you're trying to make.
No, I'll sort of swing myself sort of onto the end of the table and slide this glass in his direction.
What's your opening line?
So this is the famous Kurt, is it? One of Big Al's best and brightest. I've been looking for someone like you.
Been looking for a real man, eh? And at this point, Kurt stands up, and Eric and the other boys cascade from him like Godzilla rising from the deep. He towers over you, and you notice that he's probably almost as wide as you are tall. And he strikes a triumphant pose and puffs his chest out. He's like, I suppose I am rather magnificent.
Not seen a real bloke since I've come down here. So...
Really? He just pushes the boys on the right of him off the chairs with one hand. He's dropping tokens and tack as he goes, but he's just one hand just like poof, just like away. Why don't you come and sit next to me?
I'll slide further up and sit next to him, I suppose. So yeah, I've heard sort of word about town being that you're one of the biggest and hardest around here.
Why, yes. For when I was a lad, I had 6 dozen eggs. Oh, God. And now I'm roughly the size of a barge. If you're wondering, nowadays I eat 8 dozen eggs. Because I'm bigger than any French tough man. But yes, he's colossal, and you'd wager a colossal pervert. Being that he had to stand through a cascade of boys. But yes, he throws a meaty arm around your shoulders, and it is colossal. He throws an arm basically the size of an eater around you, and pulls you in close. The heat of his armpit is oppressive. And he's despite his booming voice, and he does occasionally, miss a letter, or possibly even a whole syllable. His breath is impressively alcoholic. You get the impression if you pushed his head close enough to the bar, the table, it would start stripping varnish. After a few moments.
Would I be able to slide sort of the drink I'd given in sort of the front of the queue?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you've been told it's his favourite. The rest of these little, free complimentary cocktails, for the most part, there's the occasional can of something. Yeah, he picks up the drink. Like, I see you brought me the best. Ah, he chugs it down.
How about we head round back, see if they've got any rooms free.
Round back, eh? Why, you're a confident. Yes. Yes. Why? Yes.
And then I'll lead him towards the
Room. and Eric and two of the would help him stand again. And this one he's like, it's a little stuck this time. You know, you get the impression he can stand at the table, but trying to get around it is a bit of a struggle. So they have to help him round the table a bit. You know, it just doesn't accommodate his majestic thighs. What's the term for that? I don't know. Yes, he edges his way around the table and he claps a meaty hand around your entire left shoulder and just pulls you after him. By the time you've he just walked across the room. The guy who gave you this drink just sort of gives you a knowing wink. And Kurt. It would be fair to say Kurt carries you upstairs.
Okay. I'm hoping at this point that the other two sort of make to follow.
I don't think you discussed a plan with them that involved you going upstairs with Kurt. But Kurt takes you upstairs. Eric, the boy that was immediately on his left, comes up with you. And opens the door to the first room on the left as you go upstairs. And you notice the stairs continue past the room. It's a rather odd arrangement.
Okay.
But yeah, it's literally a room off the stairs. Yeah, and it has Kurt's name on it. You know. Yeah. Again, in in shiny metal. You get the impression he's turned up one day with a sign and said you'll put this on my room.
Okay.
Yeah. He takes you inside, and inside this room, it's almost exactly the same as downstairs. It's kind of smoky. There's an incensey sort of scent to the air. It's red and pink lights and purples. It's basically candles in jars of various colours. There's a small window that's sort of just a slit, and you can see all this sort of smoke streaming out of it. The sunlight. Yeah, the sunlight that's still around because it's kind of an odd angle. It's north facing. Is sort of streaming through at a slant, so you can see the smoke in the air. But yeah, he comes on in and I wouldn't say throws you at the bed, but he pushes you in the direction of an assemblage of large pillows.
Okay.
Yeah. With the force of an angry god. You're just like, there you are! And by the time you've sort of turned round, his jacket's already off. He's undoing an enormous shirt. He's probably only two or three buttons in at this point.
Is the other lad still with him?
But the other lad closed the door behind them and left. Yeah. If you're heading up the stairs, you can see that he's sitting on the stairs a few steps down, looking a little miffed.
I'm going to go and sit with him. And just sit down on the stairs with him. Give him a bit of a shoulder nudge. Yeah. All right.
Suppose. You notice that his voice is completely different to when he was talking in the bar. When he was in the bar, it was all, "Oh, you bitch." And now he's just like, yeah, it's alright. What?
What's up?
Yeah. You know. Big spender. Apparently wants something free range.
You lost out then?
Well, you know. Depends how not many passers by hold Kurt's attention for long.
Have you held his attention for long?
Yeah, I'd say we're fairly serious.
So, would you like us to get rid of the passerby for you?
Well, don't get me wrong, I enjoy a night off as much as anyone, but, you know, it hurts a little. He'd throw me over. Yeah.
I'll pop in and have a word, so to speak.
Alright, I didn't see you. And he heads back down. He heads further down. We have a message in chat. Is there any chance we can increase the volume for spanners?
I'm up as high as I can go. I can see if I can boost a bit higher.
Maybe just talk a little louder, I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
In relation to Anita.
Yes. And you've seen Timmy working some social magic. Probably should have made some rolls happen on that, but hey, who cares? It was a nice moment. So yeah, Eric walks back down the stairs past you. You notice how he doesn't walk into the bar, walk out into the open bar. He steps behind the bar. Yeah, he opens up the little flap and steps behind the bar. So he's not going out into the main room. Yeah, clearly he's decided to take the night off. Yeah. So, Anita and Timmy, you can hear a an average-sized northern body hitting a pillow, possibly with a sort of oomph sound, and fuck it, the jacket will zip up. Who cares? Yeah, you can hear a zip, a long zip, undoing. And you hear a deep voice from inside the room. You can't make out the words. It's quite slurred, and it's through a door.
Anita will look at Timmy and say, "Do you think we should leave them for a minute?"
Yeah, probably not.
You never know. You
I'm
might
not
enjoy
sure.
it.
Do you know, I don't think you would.
Okay, we shall cut back to Zeke. Zeke, you hear what might be a chuckle outside the door. At which point Kurt throws off his shirt, undoes his belt, stamps across the room, and falls onto the bed, face down, and starts snoring.
Okay.
Belt around his knees.
I head back to the door and sort of poke my head out, and they're only a couple of steps down, or
Yeah.
like right outside now.
Yeah, there was a latch on the inside of the door, but it's a wooden latch sort of thing. You can easily just open it up, pop it open. Yeah, there you
so
are.
Gesture to the other two to get up here.
Okay. Yeah, so we go in. I go in.
Yes. There is Kurt,
The door
half
shut again.
undressed, nude from the knees down. Well, nude from the knees up at this point. Face down on a sort of a bed of large pillows, snoring.
Was he wearing a belt?
He was, yes.
Cool. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is to take that belt and tie it around his ankles.
Okay. Yeah. Fuck it. Let's call on your torture skill for this. Secure it firmly.
Yep.
Not saying you can't, but using your torture skill to
My
tie
torch
some
is
kind of horrible impervious knot that will hurt, but not like cut off the feeling.
marvellous. So I crit, so I'm going to go Japanese bondage on him.
I'm not going to ask why you specified. I'm not going to ask why you specified, or what that entails. So, yeah, you go full Japanese rope bondage on him, and I assume through no amount at all of research or prior knowledge, you attach his ankles to his neck in some kind of horrible, painful rear archway thing.
Is there... I mean, I'm assuming from where we are, there's going to be like a hook or something on the ceiling.
There are a series of rings in the ceiling.
Marvellous. So once we've tied his feet to his neck, that rope's going straight through a couple of those rings. He's a big bloke, so yeah, we're going to need a couple of them. And I'm going to motion to the others to help me to hoist him.
Okay. Go ahead, guys. You're gonna really have to roll quite well to hoist this person.
With strength.
Being that we've stated he's approximately 4 feet wide. Yes.
Awesome. 14.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not right. 13.
Strength, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's an 11 on the dice.
Oh, you lucky bastards. Yeah, you I had kind of internally set like you had to have a cumulative 35. So yeah, you with some effort you managed to hoist him. You only get a few feet out of this. One of the rings pulls out the ceiling after trying it. You get the impression the rings are for the boys. He took advantage of them, but he wasn't himself suspended. One of the rings rips out the ceiling. It brings a bit of floorboard with it from the floor above as it goes. You hear sort of a wet slapping sound from above. So you have a hole in the room, hole in the ceiling of your brothel room, and a man suspended sort of 2.5 feet in the air, suffocating because you just attached his ankles to his neck with a belt, and there's no way to slack a belt attached around someone's neck. In fact, fuck it. He's got a choker on. He's got a big leather choker on with Kurt on it. Because he's that kind of prick. He's got like a big, thick, like leather dog collar on with Kurt on the front. Which you didn't notice before because he had a collared jacket. And as you hoist him, you notice that he has his own name tattooed on his arse.
Alright, over to you guys.
Yeah. Kurt hangs there with his horrible snoring, his breath kind of constricted slightly. Unconscious, and albeit you never put his trousers up, basically nude. You have an incredibly large, hairy, tattooed man hanging from the ceiling. And at that note, I think we should wrap up for the evening. So yes, wonderful. I think that'll be a wonderful point to pick up from next time. So yes, God damn, that has so entirely occupied my brain space that the outro is basically vanished from my brain. So yeah, this was Monday Nights Get Nuked. I was thirsty, I was the world, and all of apparently the kind of creepy gay men in it. I think there was a child and a woman at some point, but apart from that, it was just tortured people and gay men. Spanners, who are you? Where can we find you? And what did you think of that?
So I am Spanners. That was so much fun. I am enjoying the torture perk. I am really enjoying the torture perk. But yeah, I'm interested to see where we take this. You can find me on Twitter at spanners_BTP. You can find me over on Discord in the White Vault channel. And other places. And here, Monday nights.
Yes. Right. Lilith. Go.
Okay. That was definitely fun. Watching giant bloke get tortured. Will be interesting next time.
Yes.
It's going to be very interesting next time.
So where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Lilith21, I think. Pretty sure that's my Twitter handle. It'll do.
Yeah. Okay. Anywhere else? Any other shows you're on?
Yeah, you can also find me on a Saturday night at 9 PM on Kit Battlebeard's channel playing some D&D. It's been a couple of weeks since I've played that, so I can't actually remember what time that one starts either. Not a good evening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll write it down for next week.
Yeah. I know that the first time I ran one of these, Blood wrote me a little script, and I didn't stick to it then, and then I lost it. So, yeah.
Well,
Yes.
I've just got confirmation that my Twitter handle is at Lilith21.
Excellent.
Bonus.
That is always good.
Yeah.
People are looking out for you there in Chatland.
Yep.
So yes, Ivor. Where can we find you? Did you enjoy that? Sorry for picking on you with all the homoeroticism.
So yeah, that was incredibly awkward, but enjoyable nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, you know, it subverted the normal thing of like, oh, it's the only girl in the group. Let's target them with all the creepy sex vibes. I suppose. I didn't intend it to go either way, really. I kind of hoped you'd go into butts, which was the general, like, anyone with an ass can come in. That's fine. You know, we don't judge. But no, straight to bungos.
You can find me on Twitter at Ivor_DNABC. Here on Monday nights and in the nebulous north somewhere.
Okay. So yes, that was us. Just realised I didn't do my Twitter handle or any of that stuff. So once again, I'm Thirsty. You can find me on Twitter at Thirsty_BTP. You can find me occasionally on bloodthirstypuppets.co.uk. You can find me here on Mondays and on Fridays when we get back to doing that because there have been illnesses and people away and stuff. I have had great fun being the slightly predatory world. I apologise profusely for any horrible like Disney infringements. And that's gonna be it from us, unless anyone has anything else to say. No. Okay.
Oh, can I just say good luck to my A-level people who I know are watching?
Yes.
Exam on Friday. Yay, do well.
Yes. Good luck, A-level people. And, you know, if at all possible, you know, don't fuck it up. Yeah, and don't judge. That's the job of, you know, invigilators and marking people. So yes, cheerio. Outro slide. We're nearly there. Oh, I'm so sorry, for picking on you. So you just kept going. You kept going back to the gay places. You know.
I am so sorry. I just got this major astonishment. Oh no! It was the.
Yeah, I to be fair, I forgot his voice at that point as well. He had a different voice before that. Oh, that was wonderful. So, oh, that's that. Right. And there.
Awesome.